If you love butter chicken, this chickenette coconut curry is going to be a delight for you as well, except that it has a lot less fat. What if I told you this entire meal will take you less than 30 minutes? Hi, my name's Guiney and I've been cooking for over 25 years. If you have a minute, if you can hit that subscribe button, the notification button, and if you try this recipe and enjoy it, hit that like button as well so that you can continue to get my updated recipes. My key is to have gourmet meals on your table in less than 30 minutes. We're going to start by adding yeast to our flour. All the measurements are located in the description box below. And we're going to add a little bit of salt. And we want to mix this before we add any of our wet ingredients. This is an actual dough mixer and it works out really well. You can usually get it in any cooking store. Now that that's all mixed really well, it's time to add our yogurt. Mix that in first before you add in warm water. And then I have warm water that I've warmed up to a temperature of 109 degrees. You don't have to measure it exactly, just make sure that it's not too warm to touch. And it's time to put your water into your mixture. And once you have a rough mix, we're going to cover it with a damp cheesecloth, set it aside to rest for about 20 minutes. This just takes 2 to 3 minutes to mix. As you can see, it's already coming together. This recipe works best with chicken quarters. We're going to cut it and split it into the drumstick and the thigh. There's a sweet spot right in the middle that you can, if you cut in between the two bones, it's that easy. Ta-da, 2 pieces. Time to start seasoning the chicken. We're going to start with our salt, followed by black pepper. You can add as little or as much as you want. Cinnamon is a key ingredient of this particular recipe. And then I add basic curry powder, followed by turmeric, and smoky paprika, and chili powder. You can have a hot chili powder or a mild chili powder. It's more for the flavor than it is for the heat. Now it's time to mix it all up. Put gloves on before you mix this because you don't want spicy hands. Get right in there. Don't be shy. Coat the back and the front, the bone, and everything in between. So get right in there. Make sure each and every piece is really well coated with all of the seasoning. Time to cut the onion. I like buying the bigger onions. It's less to peel. And we're just going to chop the onion up into very thin slices. And 1 big onion or 2 small onions is more than enough. Don't be shy with the garlic. The more the better. Well, for this recipe, we have 4 chicken quarters and I'm going to use 2 big cloves of garlic. My rule of thumb for garlic is for every 2 portions of protein, I have 1 big clove of garlic for almost just about any recipe. Time to start cooking. We're going to start by putting in a little bit of butter into a saute pan that's put on medium to high heat. Once it's melted halfway through, I'm going to start putting my onions, my garlic, and my ginger. So sometimes you're able to get fresh ginger, and sometimes in the winter the ginger is not that great, so I use powdered ginger. They both work equally as well in my opinion. And then saute that for 2 to 5 minutes. In goes the ginger. We're going to saute that so the onions become just a little bit soft. Now that they've softened a little bit, it's time to add the chicken. I always add skin side down to begin. You might have the urge to stir this around, but don't. Let it simmer for 3 to 5 minutes. Time to throw your lid on. So while the chicken's cooking, we're going to make the yogurt sauce, and instead of cucumber, I actually use zucchini, which is a little bit different, but it tastes delicious. So grate your zucchini on the smallest grater that you have. And you're going to have fine pieces, and for about 4 people, I'm using about 2/3 or 1/3 of a zucchini. My grated zucchini, I'm now going to add the yogurt. Next, we're adding some salt and a little bit of pepper. Remember, the whole point of this yogurt sauce is to cool everything down, so you don't want to put too much seasoning into it. Time to give this a really good stir. Once you've stirred it all up, put it in the fridge and it is ready to go. As a side note, you can add a little bit of cilantro if you'd like, but if not, if you have a few fussy eaters, then just leave it out and this is delicious, ready to go. Oh, I can smell that chicken. It's time to flip them over. I always say in a lot of my videos, if only there was smell TV, but in this case, I really do mean it. So I'm going to take the time to carefully, without disturbing the skin too much, flip over each of the pieces of chicken. Oh, they look fantastic. You can clearly tell that it's starting to change and the appearance is changing and all the spices are getting absorbed into the meat. It's time to add a little bit of water. Don't pour it all over the top because you don't want to lose all that seasoning on the chicken. Just pour it down the side and it will seep to the bottom. Put the lid back on and it will continue to steam while we make the naan. So I've got my dough right out of the bowl. It looks a bit rough. It needs a little bit of kneading and a little bit of flour. So that's what we're going to do. And then we're just going to divide it into 6 equal pieces. So this is what your dough is going to look like. And I formed it into a little ball. And now I'm going to use my bench scraper rather. And I'm going to divide it in half. And each of my halves I'm going to divide it into a third. So I have 6 equal pieces. So I am flattening out my dough rather. If you are looking for an in-depth naan recipe, I will have one up on my channel very shortly. I'm going a little bit quick on this one just to show you how quickly you can put this dinner together. So you don't want to roll it out so that it's super thin, and we want to roll out kind of an oblong shape. There we go, it's down on the pan. Let it sit for a minute or 2. There we go. I spread a smidge of butter on them as they come off, and as you can see, they're nicely browned, and a little bit of butter keeps them nice and moist. The chicken is cooked. It's time to add a little bit of coconut milk, and I try and add it not directly on top of the chicken, but right into the gravy. Let that simmer for another 2 to 3 minutes, and your chicken is all done. Looking for a thicker sauce, you can add a little bit of flour and water and let that cook for an additional minute or 2. It'll thicken the entire sauce up. See how it's thickening up almost instantly? Make sure you cook through the flour. It just takes a minute or 2. Continue to keep coating it, and this is ready to serve. As soon as your naan is done, time for dinner. Garnish with a little bit of parsley. And your meal is done. In less than 30 minutes, we've put this meal together. The key is not to have dead time. When your chicken is cooking, attend to your naan and get your yogurt sauce done. It really isn't that difficult to put a meal together in 30 minutes if you're organized and have everything prepped. I look forward to seeing you soon for more easy, quick, and healthy recipes.